And we are live. Welcome to the pseudo NBA strategy show, pseudo NBA live before lock show. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Zach Brunner. We are going to break down ever so quickly Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals. What do they actually call it? Do they call it the semifinals?
I think they probably just say round 2.
Yeah, round 2 of the Western Conference between the Nuggets and Clippers. This game locks at 1 p.m. Eastern time, the same lock time, obviously, as NFL Week 1. So, good luck with that one. I'm curious what you guys will be prioritizing. I can go ahead and guess right now that it won't be the NBA, but that's not going to stop us from breaking it down. So, Zach, how are you? Are you excited for this NBA slate?
Might as well. I mean, this is a game that we already know about, so might as well get a little bit of exposure to it.
For sure. Who wins the game? Is the series over?
I would think so. The Clippers keep letting themselves down. I don't know how they are so prone to collapses, but you would think they pull together and at least grind this one out.
Yeah. The only interesting piece of this, and I had missed it over the past couple of days talking about it, if the Nuggets win today, we get another 2-game slate on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, Game 7 crossed with Game 1 of Celtics Heat, I think. I think I have that right. But yeah, so that is in play if you're interested. What is also in play is no house advantage. They've got an NFL Sunday kickoff. That's the one I'm going to need to point out for today. That's the big contest. They do have a $1,000 showdown going for the NBA, but $5K contest, $2K up top. It is 37% full as of right now. If you sign up at No House Advantage using the promo code Awesemo, you can get a $20 deposit match. If you refer a friend, you can get another $5 on top of that. I'll touch on some props for the NBA slate as we go, but I think it's time to just dive in. I've got showdown salaries pulled up for DraftKings, so I can at least speak on that. Let's just do it. We'll start at the top let's just start at the top in general. I don't think we need to look at this really from a team-by-team perspective. Kawhi Leonard, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Paul George, the 4 quote-unquote studs in this game. Is there a player out of that group of 4 that stands out more to you than the others?
I'm gravitating towards Kawhi at the very top just because, closeout game, his team keeps collapsing. I would assume that he takes over in this game. He also didn't have a great game 5 either, just from by any means, but
not so much.
If I'm paying up for somebody, it's probably going to be him. Otherwise, you can do a dart throw at the other guys, but I feel he's the safest, obviously.
Yeah. So I ran a sim to try to figure out who optimal captains would be. Kawhi and Jokic are basically in a dead heat around 27% of the time. Steps back to a Jamal Murray, Paul George dead heat about 13% of the time. And then it gets like really squirrely. Zubac pops up. Pat Bev pops up as like a weird one, 6,300 in the captain spot. So for right now, I would be leaning Kawhi and Jokic predominantly. If either one of those guys gets more ownership than the other, I would just sort of prefer the other guy. Same sort of scenario for Murray and George. If either one of them gets a disproportionate amount of ownership, I would rather just go the opposite direction. I'm assuming these guys all play, roughly 40 minutes. Jamal Murray probably a little bit more. Jokic probably a little bit less. Oh, man, it's going to be... Picking through those 4 guys is just so difficult, especially Paul George. I can't get that guy right at all right now. 14-4 in the captain spot today. That is $600 cheaper than Jamal Murray. I would not have expected that at all, ever.
Never. Yeah, exactly. And it seems there's one person who's the clear better player right now, and it's not the guy who you would think at the beginning of the season. Paul George is struggling. I don't know.
Here's the real question for you. Will Paul Millsap be an excellent value again? Paul Millsap, they put the paddles on him for Game 5. They brought him back from the dead, had an exceptional third quarter. Is it Paul Millsap season today?
It could be. It's completely game script dependent. Yeah. But, they made that big comeback last game with Michael Porter Jr. in the lineup because they needed his offense, and obviously it helped. But again, if we assume the Clippers are going to win this game and grind out a win and Kawhi takes over, I would assume Michael Porter Jr. is the better play there. But, if you want to be contrarian, then Millsap by every mean. I mean, if you think Denver's going to win, I would have him in your lineup.
Yeah. The problem in all of this is that Paul Millsap is 5,400 in the flex spot on DraftKings. Michael Porter Jr. is 7,600. $2,200 difference. And I see no reason to suspect that Porter plays more minutes than Millsap. There's it worked giving Millsap 30 or whatever he played in game 5. I see no reason that they're going to somehow stop him. He was basically like the hero of the game. So I have Paul Millsap projected for more minutes in this game. I'd have a hard time getting to Michael Porter. I think he's way too expensive for this showdown slate. Really difficult to get to. Just does not grade out well at all for me.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And again, what's the story of Michael Porter Jr.? It's he can't play defense at all. So then if he's not hitting his shots, then he's completely useless out there. If Paul Millsap's hitting his shots, he's at least a two-way player for them.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm so tired of going to Millsap.
Yeah.
It's really not appealing. But two guys getting very little love from me. $8,400 Lou Williams, $7,600 Michael Porter. I don't really see a scenario where I want to go to those guys, given that I can spend just a little bit. Like, Paul George is only $1,200 more expensive than Lou Will. I have Paul George projected for 16 more fantasy points.
Yeah.
It's not close.
Lou Williams definitely. I mean, he's getting so much usage taken away from Harrell. And on top of that, I mean, Harrell's sinking this entire team anyway. You probably shouldn't be playing in second halves ever.
I've got a mini hot take for you.
Go for it.
If you're playing the showdown slate today and you don't have Nikola Jokic in your lineup, I really like Mason Plumlee at 2,400.
That's fair.
I think that's the perfect way to free up a little bit of salary. He could very well play 8 minutes. I'm aware of that. He could naturally just pick up a couple extra. He's a proficient fantasy point per minute type guy. If you're trying to get a little bit heavier, say, you've got a Kawhi captain lineup. If you're naturally going to get away from Jokic in that lineup, I don't mind going to Mason Plumlee. I think he looks like a really nice value because of the $2,400 price tag. Look, if it's not going to be a great score, I have him projected for 8.7 fantasy points in that spot. So it's not going to be the most exciting thing in the world to have Mason Plumlee. But if that frees you up a couple extra thousand to get insert guy that looks pretty good, Zubac at 7K or even just to Paul George at 9,600, I think that extra salary is really important.
That's fair. And to your point, there's a couple guys in that mid tier you may like, but it's pretty much those top guys at top. And Miles Plumlee, if you get minutes out of him, whether it's Jokic gets in foul trouble or something else happens, he's probably going to produce.
I would be very surprised to see him get a full DNP, no matter how the game's going. I think he's going to take at least a rotation just because. And then, Mike Malone does weird stuff plays him alongside Jokic from time to time. And by time to time, I mean last game. Did it in the first half. I like paying down there. I don't mind Torrey Craig as much at 2,800, but that's really not all that great. Pat Bev at 4,200 looks like a really nice value play. Probably the best option of anything. His minutes finally jumped back up in game 5. You liking any of the value options at the bottom for either team today?
Beverly, just because he's going to get minutes and they need his defense. I think Morris is okay. Again, he's going to get minutes. Him and Craig are both going to get minutes for Denver, but they're just not going to be incredibly efficient minutes. And yeah, I don't know. There isn't too many value guys that you can confidently be like, okay, they're going to produce in this scenario. It's either they get hot randomly and they're going to sink some shots or not.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a day behind on all of these guys. Like, and then I try to make that adjustment and then I'm wrong again. It's been a vicious cycle in this entire series. I'm running a dummy crunch right now. Should actually put it up on the screen. If I could do that quickly. I did not prep the screen share scene. So let's see how quickly I can do this. All right. You are not Awesemo, but that's okay for right now. We can deal with that overlay. Let's see. Do we have a screen share one for the two of us? Because that might just stop me in general. Back. I don't. So never mind. Not doing that at all. Well, trust me, guys. I'm running a crunch, and it looks okay-ish. A lot of Pat Bev. All right, let's talk Montrezl Harrell because he's popping up as a potential value option in my crunches. Are they ever like? Is he ever going to play more than 18 to 20 minutes? Did not play that many in the last run.
I don't think he can. You could look at the entire series, and he has a positive plus minus in the first half, and he has a drastically negative one in the second half every single game. Last game it was minus like 12 or 13 or something in that fourth quarter stint for him.
Yeah,
he gets outmatched by Jokic and the other guys from the Nuggets in the fourth quarter. So if I was Doc Rivers, I would play him less in this closeout game. It's not like they have a ton of post players that they can feel great about, but never know. Maybe Green is the better play today out of those guys.
Wow, that crunch just got worse somehow. I don't really know how that's possible, but it is apparently possible. I don't know what to do with those guys. Those are rules that I even have trouble setting when I'm trying to run these crunches. How many of Harrell, Zubac, JaMychal Green should I have? 2 of 3? Should it just be 1 of 3? Do you approach that in any particular way, trying to sift through the 3 guys that potentially play center for the Clippers?
I try to go just 1 of 3.
Yeah.
And my problem with, I like Zubac a lot. I just don't think he can get any more minutes. He's pretty much maxed out. Last game he played 32, game before that 30, and then he was 20s before that. I don't think he can get any more minutes, and even if he does get more minutes, they're going to be minutes alongside Kawhi and George and Lou, and they're just not going to be efficient, point per minute time on the floor.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what is wrong with him. I'm curious if we find out after the season is over that like it's not just conditioning, that there is something additional wrong. El Negro Loco in chat says Zubac has been closing, right? Yeah, Zubac has been closing. He looks fantastic today. 7K on DraftKings is solid, but I think he's even sneakier as a potential captain if you wanted to get like really different, because I don't think people will put him there. He doesn't grade out all that well. Like he only hits the top captain option for me 1.3% of the time, but I think just given the star power at the top, the non-Kawhi, Jokic, Murray, George captain spot is going to be, there's not going to be a lot of exposure outside of those 4.
No, and to your point, if someone does go outside of those 4, I would assume they go way down to the Beverly, to maybe even the Herald to take a chance. I don't think they target the mid-tier as much.
So who are some, like, what's an ideal construction for you in a situation like this? Are you looking to be more heavy Denver, or I'm guessing more heavy on the, or heavier, I guess I should be saying, heavier on the Clippers side?
I'd be heavier in terms of higher paid guys on the Clippers side. I'd be more willing to take random role players from Denver.
Are you expecting a blowout here by any chance?
I will say, if it's a blowout, I think Denver comes back again. I don't think Clippers really know how to play with a lead. We've seen it time and time again down in the bubble. Every time they get up, the team comes back. So I don't think it's going to be a 20-point blowout. I think they probably have a comfortable lead the entire game. But even so, I don't think it really matters from Denver's side. Denver has possibly the best offense in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they get down by 20, they're still in the game. They're just going to play their starters normal minutes, especially in an elimination game.
I'm with you in that regard. I think like someone like Monty Morris, I think could be valuable regardless of the status of the game, where I think he's going to play 17 minutes no matter what. And if it gets weird, he could be out there during a run and they leave him out there. So I like him in that sort of game script. Still trying to run a crunch here. Not going all that well. Really need to play with my exposures, but just given the spots where my sim is pointing people out, just ownership is just going to be so important on sifting through those top 4 guys. But I can't imagine wanting to go a different direction other than Kawhi as a priority. I just trust him the most out of those 4 guys. The variance on a Murray game or the variance on a Paul George game, and unless they're getting no love whatsoever in our ownership projections, I just prefer Kawhi to Jokic, and I just fully expect this series to be over. That said, I really need... I can't even remember who I took right now. I really need Jeremy Grant to have a good game today. He is one of the few remaining nuggets I have in my playoff contest, so that's who I'm going with. So I need a Jeremy Grant game, even if they go home. I'm trying not to use any Clippers right now because running low on peeps. I'm going to need to save Clippers and Lakers from the Western Conference Finals. So go Jeremy Grant, but that has nothing to do with DFS.
From a real-life perspective, I definitely like Jeremy Grant as a player. I think Denver got a nice deal there.
Same.
He could definitely go off at any point. We've seen him fill it up as soon as he gets hot.
Well, I need that to happen. Let's see. Is there anything else you want to touch on for this slate? Any specific like showdown thoughts that you try to approach? Anybody that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure that we at least talk about a little bit? And YouTube chat, if you want to drop any questions in, just thoughts on the slate in general. We don't really have a ton to go on for this one. Everybody's seen this slate or this game 5 times at this point. It's just the one gamer. The popularity is relatively low. So if you have any questions, today's the day. All 69 of you. Nice.
Hey, I will say I'm just fully avoiding Gary Harris for whatever reason. I just don't think he has a good enough usage. Even in a game where they filled it up offensively, he took 4 shots. He just isn't involved enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
I get the price tag is nice. I would probably rather take a stab on someone who's cheaper than him and then pay up somewhere else. Or try to get up to Morris for the Clippers or something.
Anybody catching your eye in particular that you would try to get to?
If I can work it to get up, I'd go to Morris. But if I'm going down, I'd rather go to Marcus Morris. I'm talking if I can go up. If I can go down, I'd rather go to Monty Morris.
Okay. So many Morai.
Yeah. Didn't realize that until I started talking through that.
Yeah, I was going to say wait till next series when Markieff is there too, but then Monty Morris will likely not be there any longer.
Most likely, yes.
The more I collide in the Western Conference Finals if the Clippers win today. That's just craziness. There will be guaranteed a Morris in the finals in that regard. Who would have thought?
What an exciting time. What an exciting time to be alive.
What an exciting time to be a Morris.
Yes.
Uh-oh. El Negro Loco says Harris was his sleeper.
I just don't think he's involved enough.
Yeah.
But, if he starts hitting 2-3 long shots in a row, I guess maybe they feed him. I find it hard to believe that Jamal Murray would feed anybody, though.
Gary Harris does not have props available on No House Advantage. Kawhi Leonard does. Here's the question. Kawhi Leonard, 30.5 points. Would you take the over or under on that number?
I think I'd go over today. I would assume... I could see him coming out and putting up nearly a 20-point first quarter, just taking control and seeing where the game goes from there. I feel like there's not that I feel like there's nobody on the Nuggets that could stop him if he really wants to enforce his will, and I would assume he does that.
I am on the same page as you. I would take the over. I assume you're going to go to the over on this one, but it's at least a little bit more tenuous. 2.5 threes made for Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I would go over that, even though he's having so much success in the paint. But yeah, with this type of tempo, he should go over.
Okay. Oh, I gotta fix that. Okay, that makes sense. Let's take a look at one or two more props, and then we can get out of here. Try to find someone. Okay, Michael Porter Jr. has an interesting one. 13.5 points. That's kind of tricky.
Yeah. To your point, I don't think he gets enough of an increase in minutes from last game when he was in that fourth quarter run. He still only played 22 minutes. I'd probably go under. Even though he's in the game for his offense last game, he only took 3 shots, which is interesting.
It's a little surprising.
Very surprising. Yeah, I'd probably go under there.
Okay. I think I would as well, just given the way that shook out. One more, we'll take a look at Nikola Jokic. Again, these are the props at No House Advantage. You should go to No House Advantage, use the promo code Awesemo to sign up, get yourself $20 on your first deposit of $20. $5 if you get a referred friend. 24.5 points for Nikola Jokic. Oh, actually, this one's even more fun. 40.5 points, rebounds, assists for Nikola Jokic.
That's trickier. I'd most likely go over. I think you can, assume he gets 4 to 5 assists at a minimum. I would assume he gets 10 rebounds at a minimum. So the question is points. And I think he has to be involved. So yeah, I think I would go over.
That's a big number. I think that honestly comes down to his points. I fully expect him to be close to 10 and 10 on the other side. But you see so many games of Jokic where he might just have like 16, 12, and 12.
Yeah.
That's going to get you right to 40. Like, that's where it starts to get really tenuous. No, it doesn't. Does it? Is it 24? Yeah. God, I'm terrible at math. Guys, it's 9:24 a.m. I'm still working through coffee number 2. It's been a lot of NFL prep, so the brain's just not working for like math. Simple addition, not great right now. So go check out No House Advantage. Props look great. I don't have much else to hit on right now. We did get the question from Chad. Any thoughts on FanDuel strategy? I'll be honest, I have not played any of the FanDuel single game entry stuff, so I'm not going to be a gigantic help there. Zach, is that something you mess with?
No, I don't. I would take the same basic strategy, though, in terms of just looking at the same guys we talked about. I know pricing's a little bit different, but I wouldn't try to get to Lou Williams. I wouldn't try to stack up on Montrezl Harrell by any means. Yeah. You're still playing those same guys we talked about.
Well, I think that about does it. 25 minutes on this solo Game 6. Pretty good. We've got a ton of NFL content coming up. In 35 minutes, we will be kicking off our NFL coverage, and we will be live for 3 hours from 10 till 1. I will be on Live Before Lock starting at noon with Greg Ehrenberg, so tune into that. Pour one out for myself and Chris Spags as the NFL Live Before Lock duo. It's a sad day, but I think Greg and I can carry the mantle. And stick around for 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time when I make my 100 yards and a touchdown pick. Let's hope that I go better than 0 for 10 to start the season like I did last year. That was a blast. Is Monte at captain a reach for DK GPPs? Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I just don't think that you need like a really, really, really specific game. No one's going to have that. I don't think that you need to be that different. And I don't think the upside in his minutes are high enough that could pay you off. It's tricky.
Agreed.
Alrighty, guys. If you can, if you're one of the 70 people that are in here, hit that thumbs up on your way out the door. But we appreciate having you. Best of luck on this slate. If you're playing it, congratulations. Don't forget, lock is at the same time as NFL. But tune into the NFL stuff. We've got 3 straight hours coming up. Good luck, and we are out of here.